All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we finally have some information regarding Dragon Age: The Veilguard and how it's sold in Europe. We made a video a couple of weeks back over rumors regarding of how the game sold in Europe, but we have a little bit more solid information regarding how it's actually performing and just showcasing how bad it actually has done overall. Dragon Age: The Veilguard, according to this article, has sold less than that of even Star Wars Outlaws, which was already pathetic as it is. But we already kind of knew this, especially for the US numbers, because if you look at the US numbers, Star Wars Outlaws has announced over 1 million units sold, but for some reason, EA and Dragon Age: The Veilguard are completely silent on them.
Alright, let's see what this is about. Where the fuck is everyone?
So let's get into this article, guys, from Phantom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So a new report claims that Bioware's Dragon Age: The Veilguard was not in the top 50 best sellers in Europe, and that it performed worse than Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws. Games industry head Christopher Dring revealed sales from GSD that states that Bioware's Dragon Age: The Veilguard has sold worse than Outlaws. In an episode of GamesIndustry.biz microcast, while discussing how poorly new games have sold compared to previous years, Dring shared Star Wars Outlaws was the 14th best-selling new game of the year, but number 45 overall. Next, he stated Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which came out at the end of October, that was number 19 in the best-selling new game chart, but was number 68 overall. So, okay, let's just kind of understand these numbers really quick. So when it comes to the overall sales for the year, both of these games have barely even passed 50, right? Dragon Age didn't even pass 50, whereas Outlaws seems to have actually passed 50 by 5 slots, but Dragon Age is at 68. That is a massive fail for an IP that was as big as Dragon Age, and it goes to show that people just did not care. I don't understand how much easier I could possibly make it for people to get it, but nobody cared about Dragon Age: The Veilguard aside from a couple of shills and streamers. Streamers are what was carrying this game when it first came out, and now the game is dead. The game is completely dead. I don't know anybody that's still playing this game, with any sort of interest whatsoever. I damn for sure don't know any streamers that are streaming this game anymore. If you look at the live Twitch stats, it is completely tanked. People have got their understanding of it. People are watching their favorite streamers play the game, and once they saw what the game was about, they checked out. It's the same people who were playing the game. Maybe they're not really into the whole anti-woke stuff or culture war stuff, and they played the game, and after a couple of hours, they realized, wow, I didn't buy a Dragon Age game. I bought some sort of gender studies fucking developer's trauma dump of a video game. Let me avoid this and let me return this ASAP and go spend my money on something better like Space Marine. You know what I mean? That's exactly what happened here. And it's because people had hope. People had hope. They genuinely believed that Bioware was going to return to form. And little did they know the kind of form that they were going to return to. But Dring almost made it clear that Dragon Age did not do well. It was Christmas, and in terms of AAA blockbuster, the traditional big blockbuster Christmas games, you had Call of Duty, which did well. You had Dragon Age, which did not. So that is disappointing in that position. Dragon Age had the market to itself, and it couldn't find an audience. That's actually true. That's actually true for the most part. Dragon Age had the audience to itself, had the market to itself. It was an RPG that was coming out at a time where there really wasn't much to compete against, right? The problem is that they went the full action RPG route. There is nothing differentiating them from anything else that's in the action RPG genre. So now you're ended up going against Black Myth Wukong a couple of months after that game came out, and people are like, no, I'd rather pick up Wukong, still relatively new. I hear good things about it. I'm going to go buy that instead. These people are getting completely destroyed, and they did this all for what, man? What did they do this for? What did they sacrifice Dragon Age as a franchise for? They sacrificed it on the altar of ideology. That's what they did. They sacrificed it to the point where they essentially gave it to their god of ideology, and that thing just ate it up like the biggest sacrifice in the world. So then it says that Dragon Age had the market again, and that's really scary as we move into the following year. He made similar commentary about Star Wars Outlaws and says that Star Wars Outlaws sort of had the year to itself, and it didn't find an audience, and that's a real shame. He also noted that Dragon Age Veilguard and Star Wars Outlaws will likely fall down the charts given digital sales data for Black Myth Wukong and Pow World have not been released yet and are thus not included in the charts. Oh, they're going to be cooked. They're going to be cooked. Wait, so they're tracking these games and they don't have digital sales for Black Myth Wukong and Pow World, two of the biggest games released ever? Like, yeah, no, this is not going to end very well for Dragon Age the Veilguard. They're going to go down even further on the list. Dring also revealed that the new games in 2024 were significantly down compared to 2023. He said overall, sales of new games in 2024 versus new games in 23, and let's remember 23 was a big year for new games, was down 29%. So almost a third down year over year in terms of new sales. So, I mean, just look at what was available, though. Look at what was available. And keep in mind, too, last year, in 2023, they had Hogwarts Legacy, right? So Hogwarts Legacy was a huge thing for new games. So, yeah, it's not shocking that we are down massively this year. But still, we've had some pretty big releases that should have made up for the loss in comparison to a game like Hogwarts Legacy. But the problem is that in 2023, there was other games that were making it up as well. This year, there's not that many, unfortunately, making it up. We've had a few games carry us through, obviously, like Space Marine 2, for example, Black Myth Wukong. All these games sold well. Metaphor Rita and Tazio all sold well. And ironically, in this year, it's not a new game, but Hogwarts Legacy was still marked as one of the top-selling games of even this year. So that goes to show that there really isn't that much interest in a lot of the new stuff that's coming up. But when there is a banger, people do play it, and they play it all the way through, and they buy it up in mass. The fact that this new game sales are down nearly a third for 2023 indicates that former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern's call for a 2-year moratorium on new games appears to have having a significant effect. Kern, who also goes by Grums on X, posted back in April, ailing all gamers to not buy any AAA titles for the next 2 years that do this. Play your Steam backlog. You will send a very clear message. Now, again, I fully understand what Grums was trying to say here. I don't think he related well enough, unfortunately, because I do not agree with a boycott on all AAA games, right? Because if we were boycotting all AAA games, like what this message actually says, which is to not buy any AAA titles for the next 2 years, then that means that we would not have seen Black Myth Wukong. That means we would not have seen Space Marine. People try to say Space Marine's AA. Okay, whatever. But to me, Black Myth Wukong's a AAA game. The Chinese is trying to get into the AAA scene with Black Myth Wukong. We would have never gotten Stellar Blade. We would have never gotten a multitude of different games that, in my opinion, really brought back those hardcore, great single-player experiences, those AAA experiences. We would not have gotten those games, and we would not have been able to enjoy those games. So I don't agree with a total boycott on AAA. I think what we should be doing is making sure we vote with our wallet, because that's the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing. Vote with your wallet. It's very clearly working, and it's going to continue to work as time goes on. And purchase the games that you feel like represent you and your interests the most. And whatever doesn't, well, just ignore them. If they tell you don't like it, don't buy it, then guess what? Don't buy it. And that's exactly what you guys have been doing. So shout out to all you guys for doing an amazing job this year in 2024, sending a very clear message over to the AAA gaming industry. And I'm sure 2025 is going to get even wilder than that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it if you get to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.